The voice of reason. If your relationship is in trouble, I'm the dude to call. Has your soulmate become your cellmate? Does black love still exist? What are your bedroom turnoffs? Fantasies and fetishes. Financial infidelity. I'm dating a fat person. Are they worth the wait? Trust me, this gonna be crazy.
How about the heavy stuff?
The child wasn't his, and he still had to pay child support.
It's a very heated topic.
How was that right?
Mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
I just have so many questions I want to ask you.
I just like to kiss a woman's ass. Is there something wrong with that?
Damn.
He told me he had a vasectomy. I'm pregnant.
Betrayal has been committed.
Hit you with the bad pipes routine.
How does he maintain his humposity?
He likes it when it pinches my nip.
Why can't you open up, brother?
I'm a karate man. Karate man rules on the inside. They don't show their weaknesses.
Yeah.
How do you write women so well?
ZoWilliams,
Reason and accountability.
the voice of reason. That's how you sound when you falling down some stairs. But it's good to you. It's like having sex falling down the stairs. Hit it one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, you tuned into the voice of reason. Hot button radio dash radio. You know what it is. Today's topic, man, is going to be crazy. The girls are ripping and running. Arana, busy. Veronica will be calling in, I'm sure. Potentially. Whitney, running late. Driving up from San Diego. They'll come. But today's show is still going to be special because one of my great friends have joined the show. He's joined the show and he's going to participate, man. He's a powerful dude. Before I even get into him, though. Listen, this is a call to action. I need you guys to go get my new book, The Relationship Dismount. I only have 75 copies remaining. I need you to go to IamZoWilliams.com and purchase your copy right now. IamZoWilliams.com. The new book is The Relationship Dismount, How to Stick the Landing When Exiting a Toxic Relationship. And of course, this is the paperback version. Only 75 physical copies remain. You can't get the paperback version anywhere else in the world but from me. And the way to do that is to go to my website, IamZoWilliams.com, click shop, order your book, and then I'll send it to you tomorrow. Hopefully it'll get there before Christmas, but I doubt it. You know how the mail is during the Christmas season. It's crazy. But that's the way to get it. I mean, you can get it on Kindle. You know, you digital heads out there can go to your Kindle. Or you iPhone users are quite bougie. You know, I have my iPhone. It's on the iOS operating system as well. You can go add it to iBooks and all of the fancy smancies out there. You can get it. It's available. Now, let me do this. Because, we got to promote a couple of things. We're not going to be here on Friday, obviously, because it's Christmas. I don't even know. I think we'll be here Wednesday. I don't know. Is the studio open on Wednesday? My engineers, they're like, what? I don't know. I was just giving the heads up. Yes. Right? So the studio will be open on Wednesday. So prepare for a show for Wednesday. I'll be here if the studio is here. I'm acting like the studio is going to get up and run away, but it's not. Listen, you guys have got to call me right now. This is a caller-driven show. When I tell you, you're going to want to talk to my friend. And I like to protect my friend. I'm very protective of this brother because he's a good brother. He's a gentle soul. Very protective of this brother. You get one question. Don't ask too many questions. Just one. You better be prepared. The number to dial is 323-230-4445. The number to dial, the hotline number to dial, and I'll be tweeting it out. 323-230-4445. Let me introduce my homeboy right now. Is he on the phone? Mr. Glenn Klausner.
Hey,
Zo? What's happening, bro?
Yo, what up, Glenn?
Happy holidays to you and to everyone listening.
Same to you, my brother. Let me give them a brief breakdown. Now, I'm going to exaggerate. So whenever I exaggerate, Glenn, just go, no, Zo, that's not true.
Okay.
All right, just no, Zo, you're going too far.
Well, how about just a brief start-up instead of a brief breakdown?
Okay, a brief startup for Glenn.
Do the opposite of all the natural instincts.
Exactly, right? And I'm going to put a lot of hot sauce on this, so just be prepared. Glenn Klausner is one of the world's best psychic mediums. There's a gentleman by the name of Bob. What's his last name? Olson. Bob Olson. Bob Olson used to be an FBI agent.
No, he was not an FBI agent. He was a private investigator.
Thank you. See, I told you, once I get to exaggerating, Glenn is going to check me. That's what you're supposed to do, Glenn. He's a private investigator. And something happened in his life where he had to check in on the afterlife, and I think he used his private eye kind of mind as a result of that to develop a list of the world's most authentic, believable, true psychics, psychic mediums. And my friend Glenn lands on that list. How long is this list? Is it an extensive list or is it a short list? You tell me.
Well, Bob has this website called bestpsychicmediums.com, which I've been featured in since 2002. And there's probably about James Van Prague, who's a very well-known medium, though he doesn't see private clients anymore. He's listed in that same site that I'm in. So it's him, I, and about maybe 9 or 10 other psychic mediums that Bob has tested and had experience with. And Bob also has another website called Best Psychic Directory. And on that particular website, there's a lot of people around the country on there, though pretty much a bulk of them Bob has not tested. So, but on the site that I'm primarily featured on, that people have found me on, he definitely has tested me. And so, like I said, that list is pretty small.
So tell me about the test, Glenn. Like, how do you test if someone has psychic abilities? How do you test that?
Well, it's a really great question. You know, when Bob had first contacted me in 2002, I had never heard of him before. He had called me. He said that he had heard about me through like just this, I guess, through other people, basically. And what happened with Bob, and a long story short, he was a skeptic. He was probably one of the biggest skeptics I ever met besides my own father. And so Bob had I think the story was that Bob's brother-in-law, Bob's wife's brother, had gone to this medium, and when his brother-in-law went to the medium, Bob's father came through the guy's reading. Okay, so now think of it. It's Bob's wife's brother. Okay, so it's Bob's brother-in-law going for a reading, and Bob's father comes through, and of course the brother-in-law knew who Bob's father is. So basically, the guy went back and told his Bob, his brother-in-law, that Bob's dad came through, and Bob was kind of skeptic, and he got this sort of thing like, there may be something to this, and he went for the experience, and the medium, I guess, said things that there would be no way that the medium could know, which was valid, and basically from there, Bob went on this investigative search of mediums, and it became people like, because at the time, a few years prior, maybe 2-3 years prior, John Edward had the show Crossing Over. And so that really kind of catapulted a door open for a lot of mediums, even though like guys like John Edward and I have been doing readings for a very, very long time. The only difference between John Edward and myself is he's much more popular than I am because of the TV show that he had in his books and stuff. So basically, Bob had just went on the search looking for legitimate mediums. He had this thing that he wanted to figure, well, it wasn't just people like John Edward and James Van Prague and George Anderson who were very well-established, known male mediums. And so he went on this quest and was coming across people. And by the time he got to me, he said that I'd like to have you featured in my website. I feel like you really do tremendous help for you for your business and stuff like that, which it has. But he said, I said, well, what's the catch there? He said, you just have to do a reading for me. And I said, okay. And the timing was perfect because I was available at that moment. And when I did Bob's reading, what was very interesting, which I kind of remember a little bit. I don't remember what I said to him, but I remember that it was his wife's grandmother who actually came through in that reading. And I was just relaying whatever I was relaying, and at the end of it, he said to me, "You passed my 15-point test." To this day, I still don't know what that 15-point test is. And to be quite honest with you, I don't want to know, because to me it would take the mystique out of what his technique was about it, what he went on. But I'm sure that he probably went on, based on the article that he wrote about me, that he went on what a lot of people go on with me. They go on, see, with me as a medium, when I dialogue with a non-physical entity, when I dialogue with that spirit, I'm really getting their essence, the personality. So the name really means nothing to me, because the name thing, as valid as that can be, it's the same thing of kind of like saying to somebody that, you're Caucasian or you're African American or you're, Jewish or Italian. They're just labels. So that we relate to the name to identify with here on the earth plane. But like, if you didn't know that Los Angeles was called Los Angeles, you wouldn't know what to call it, right? So it's the kind of the same thing. So what I'm really getting at is the personality and information that would be valid. So like, if you had an Uncle Charlie and he was let's say he was your mother's brother-in-law, so he was your mother's sister's husband, but he's Uncle Charlie, comes through, says things that and he goes, yeah, and you go, and he talks about, let's say that he has two daughters, and one of the daughters has a little chihuahua, and you're like, I just saw that daughter, and she does have a little chihuahua. Obviously, how would I know that? See, so those are the cool things that I look for in dialoguing with spirits, where they give what you would call evidential, evidence or evidential information, rather, to validate that it's them. But I can't prove that a spirit is a spirit, and neither can a spirit really. And a spirit theoretically doesn't need proof, because it's sort of like, they do this because they know that we want the validation that it's them. And yet at the same time, if a guy, you have to it's going on the trust, the feeling. It's sort of like you trust your instincts of what you do, and you go with that every day in life, and you trust, and we often question things, but you know that 2 pieces of bread to put in a toaster is going to be 2 pieces of bread. You don't need the proof of it, because you just know it intuitively.
Right. So
you know what I mean? So that's how I deal with it with spirits, too.
So let me ask you this, right? A lot of people ask me, right? They're like, do you believe in ghosts? So then I automatically say, well, let me look up the word ghost and try to understand what that means. But then I also ask the question, what's the difference between a ghost and a spirit? Right?
Nothing. It's nothing.
So that's what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to explain that.
I'm going to go here. It's just, and I'm going to use this kind of as a thing. Here, as I'm a guy, a white guy, Caucasian, whatever you want to call it. What's the difference between those 2 words?
Nothing.
I'm still a person, right?
Right.
So I'm still a soul with the same sort of emotions and all these kinds of things, the same, maybe a lot of same interests that everybody else has. And so really the difference between spirit, the word spirit, which comes from the word inspiration, which is actually a very pleasant, lovely word to hear. And we are spirits in a physical body. The word ghost, I don't look at it as a bad word. Because if you go into a Catholic church, a majority of those Catholic churches, when they do the prayers, they go, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. In some churches, Catholic churches, they go in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost.
Right.
Why is that? So I think it's whatever you call it. It's sort of like somebody can say to me, you're a medium, or you're a conduit, or you're, this guy talks to deceased people. So they're just, again, these are words that we reach for. And it's the same thing when mediums are dialoguing with non-physical entities. We kind of are searching with, especially when you deal with spirits that didn't speak English, let's say, they have to filter words to us that we can relate to. But even with spirits who did speak English, like you and I do, they will translate words to us that fit the vocabulary, fit the story. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an amazing thing about words and how we compute them and put them together in a story, if you will, in a sentence form. And so the words really spirit and ghost, I think it's just what we've made up. It's no different than like what I was saying before. It's like the United States of America and USA. Or North America, right? They're all kind of correlate to the same place that the same country that we're living in.
Interesting. So
yeah. I like to think inside the box.
Inside the box, right? So, and I use the same analogy. I was trying to explain to people that, okay, it's just a word. But if we go, say, quantum physics, because somebody asked me, hey, do you believe in reincarnation? I was like, well, I don't know about the religion and the way it explains it, but I'll do science. And for me, a ghost or a spirit, that's just energy. And in science, they say energy can never be destroyed. It can only change form. So, okay, so that kind of proves reincarnation. If you know what I mean? Like, it comes back as something else, but it doesn't go anywhere.
Right. I mean, we're vibrational beings. I mean, the way I like to look at reincarnation, it's sort of like a caterpillar. I think caterpillar is probably the best example. If there was such a thing as reincarnation, which I'm not going to go into with people unless they ask me about it, but even at that, because everybody has their own belief system about it. But to me, I look at reincarnation as sort of the same thing like going from the caterpillar to the butterfly. Or, sometimes you ever see people who do this, who are really talented artists, where they have found, like, let's say, a table on the street or a dresser, and it was, like, not in great condition. They take it home. Let's say it's you take it home, and because you're just talented at doing this, you made that dresser brand new. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
so it's kind of like the reincarnated piece of furniture. And it's sort of like a lot of things that exist on Earth are reincarnated, if you will, with materials as an example. People do this with clothing even. They'll take clothes and kind of reincarnate it.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
But it's a crazy good, though. See, that's the great thing. It's crazy to me. Not crazy. It's great because that to me is genius. Because, it's like that Apple commercial that Steve Jobs narrated it's called Think Different. But in the beginning of it, it's like a minute-long commercial that says, here's to the crazy ones. And you see people like Jim Henson and John Lennon, Yoko Ono, and Dr. Martin Luther King and Jr., and I think who have, like, Buckminster Fuller's in it, and, all these people, Thomas Edison, all the people that have these, like, what most people would see as, not necessarily you, but most people would see as a loony idea. This guy's putting his hand up a puppet of a frog. Yet, it's reached millions of people worldwide since 1968.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is there a such thing as a angry spirit or ghost?
Well, don't we have them here on Earth?
Uh-oh. Say more. Say more. Come on, say more.
Without judging anything, aren't there ones in a physical body right here on Earth?
Right. If we're angry, I guess there could be angry spirits.
Well, there are people right now that are angry that Steve Harvey put a crown on a Miss Universe on a wrong head.
That's true. That's true. A lot of people upset about it.
Why? Why is that?
Like he can't make a mistake, right?
We all have made mistakes. What we see is mistakes. We all do things that either we're not proud of or other people are not proud of. And it's sort of like somebody's saying, this musician that recently passed away, saying he died of an accidental drug overdose. That's impossible to someone who does drugs. It's impossible to call it an accidental drug overdose. Yet, it's not a judgment even. It's like we think the thing that we're really coming at a place now where, for us, it's like to come into this place with really being in our hearts, out of our heads, being in our heart, seeing each other as each other. We don't have to agree with something, whether it's political, religious, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But it's to be able to say, hey, you know what? You know my song God in Drag. I know you know that. And it's sort of what I was talking about in that song, to kind of really, I think that, because we live in a world of contrast, though, we're here experiencing both these sort of things. Even within ourselves, we get angry. Right? Even for ourselves, we'll get angry, frustrated. I do. I'm just as human as anybody else.
Right.
But that's what we're here. We're here in a form of contrast. I mean, would it be nice if we were all, like, happy, singing, dancing, playing? Sure, it'd be wonderful.
Wait a minute, Glenn. I'm about to take my headphones off and go over here and beat up my sound engineer, the DJ, because he's playing the one piece of music that scares the hell out of me. He's playing The Exorcist. Boy, if you don't turn that off, don't ever play The Exorcist in here again. That movie scared the milk duds out of me. Don't ever play that, man. I heard that music play. I said, hey, wait a minute. So look, I got one more question for you, and then if you don't mind, I want to go to our callers. They're lining up like crazy to talk to you, bro. Mm-hmm. First off, Glenn, how did you know that you had a gift? Like, when did it hit you? How early did you know?
Well, I was a small child. I was 4 years old when I had my first encounters with two spirits, and they were actually related to me. One was my maternal grandfather who had passed before I was born, and the other one was a little girl who would have been my little sister who didn't come to Earth in this in that situation. So, to me, it was very normal. As weird as that may sound, it was very normal. And then it kind of just, when I was a kid, growing up here in New York, I would. This is in the days, when there was like no caller ID. There was no even call waiting. Okay, and so the phone would ring, and I'd say to my mom, "Grandma's calling." Boom, there was Grandma. Or I would know, like, let's say you were going to ring the doorbell, and I'd say, "Mom, Zoe's at the door," and it was like and it wasn't like I was looking out the window or anything. Like 2 seconds later, there you were, and that it was little things like that. And then it was quiet because I had a lot of childhood interest, like a lot of kids do. For me, music's my other love and passion. And so I was always like involved with creative things and do things that you and I, like any kid would do. Go ride a bicycle, play stickball, go bowling, go do all these kinds of things. I would go kart racing. So, and chasing the girls around my neighborhood, or them chasing me. So it was Glenomania and
Glenomania.
Glenomania. So it was that was a cute kid. So I basically, once I got into my teen years, it really became, actually when I got to about 10, that's where I really knew I was on to something, based on a prediction that I had made, and it actually had happened for my brother. So then like when I got into my teen years, it just became more, and by the time that my last of my grandparents passed, which I was 16 at that point, my mom's mom passed, it was like the floodgates had opened. It was almost like, and it just started. And then when a friend of mine had passed, that's when it really now became more prevalent. And I kept getting guided to do readings, and that was not what I wanted to do as a career. I mean, I'm very, very happy that I have been doing it as a career now for 20 years, actually. So, but at the time, I was really just wanting to pursue a career in music or do other things creative. I mean, I'm very good at doing voices. Like I could do voices for cartoons if I really wanted to, or voiceovers and stuff like that. So, and I'm really good at voice impersonations. I have that similar thing that Robin Williams had. So, in that sensibility with voices, and so that was really kind of the thing. But once everybody kept kind of going, you should do readings. You're really good at this, and I was like, But to me, I also was looking for, I guess, inspiration from spirit, from God, or whatever you want to call it, from the universe, to what really was my path. But it always seemed, when I would do reads for friends of mine when I was a teenager, and whether it was about a girl or something to do with their family, I always didn't mind doing it, and it always felt good. I never felt bad or weird about doing it. It was like second nature to me. So it's a big responsibility, especially when dealing with people who have gone through grievance and they've lost a loved one, and that's, no matter what the loved one is, relationship is still, it's a job that I do not recommend for people to go into unless they really are willing to devote themselves, and they have the ability, number one, and also the sensitivity to have the compassion, because it's not a job you take lightly. It's not fun and games. And the kind of the readings I don't do are the ones where people go, my husband left me. Is he going to come back? That's not what I do. That's not what I'm here for in my job.
Or am I going to win the lottery? What are the lottery numbers? That's a good one, right?
Yeah. Well, I want to say something before we do take calls, because I'd like to educate people about something. It's called, everybody knows what affirmations are. You know what affirmations are, and the majority of people here know it, and they've used it, and I've used affirmations. And affirmations sound nice. Like if you say, I am rich. Now, just listen to the statement for a minute, though. When you hear the words I am, which are the two powerful words that connect us to the universe, I am. Most people, if you say, I am rich, most people in their brain logically go, yeah, right. They don't believe it, because when they think in terms of rich, they think winning the lottery, having a lot of money. Just the fact that you got up this morning, were able to get out of bed, you're able to urinate, you're able to release your bowels, right? You're able to see, hear, taste, touch, feel. You have a home, you have family, friends, food, water, all these things that we totally forget about and often. So one of the things I learned recently was something called affirmations. A guy named Noah St. John had coined that phrase, affirmations. And affirmations, this is what I teach also people in doing spirit communication, because when people say, you know, I can't talk to my loved one like you do, and I said, well, it's like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
You're both right, yeah.
So, yeah, and you can tune. I'm not the way to your loved one. It's like you are the way to your loved ones, and you can dialogue with them. You just have to learn how to listen back and trust the voice of reason, you know? And so with affirmations, if you said to this, if you put this out, and this is something that everybody listening can do, because this is amazing. I myself see the change when I use this kind of statements. Like, if I was to say, why is it that I am so rich? All of a sudden, my mind, because your brain is like, think of your brain as like Google. You know, when you go to Google and you put in like
a whole bunch of stuff comes up, right?
A whole bunch of stuff, right?
Right.
And that's what's so great about something like Google. So our brain is like that. So you say, why is it that I'm so rich? And then all of a sudden you go, because I'm breathing, I'm alive, I can walk, I can talk, I can eat, I have a home. You know, and all these things start coming in. And what basically that does is, because now the affirmations are coming in, you go, because I am alive, I am well, I am healthy. And what happens is the body, which is amazing because our bodies are made up mostly of cells and water, that our bodies respond to these feel-good feelings, these positive reasons of why something is working. Because many times people say, why is it I can never find love? And then that doesn't feel good. But if you say, why is it that people do love me? Because there are people that love you. Why is it that people love me? Why is it that I have nice family or nice friends? Or why is it that dogs seem to like me? And then you play with it, and it's really funny, and you'll see a difference in vibration. So the people, when you mentioned about like the lottery as an example, what if you went into a place and go, that you could play lottery and go, why is it so easy for me to win the lottery? And you go, well, because I got the right winning numbers. I picked the winning numbers. Do you see what I mean? The attitude. And it's an amazing thing that we are all so powerful. This is something I want to share with you, is because we're coming to a close of a year. We're about to go into a new one. And to help people, because this is the thing I want to give to souls here, is from a perspective of someone who talks to non-physical entities, they all say the same thing, a lot of the same things. Get happy. Find reasons to be happy about your life. And that's sometimes very hard for people because they're unhappy with a lot of their circumstances. But if you can take something, this is like the teachings of Abraham Hicks, if you can look at something, right, for even 68 seconds, as they say, something that gets your attention, that can put a smile on your face, and focus on it. And the thing is, happiness is within. We're always searching outside of ourselves to have happiness. But it has to feel inside and loving ourselves. And I look at people that I care about immensely, and I look at the world, and I know it's not always the easiest being here. It's challenging. In a lot of ways, it's very challenging to be here on Earth. Many people are challenged to put food on the table for their family or whatever it may be. And yet life doesn't have to be a struggle. These are programs that you and I, and anybody listening to the show, we didn't come to this world with these programs. They were told to us. They were told to us when we were children, you have to work really hard to get ahead in life. We didn't come up with that program.
So this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. People are, the phone lines are crowded up right now, and they want to hear from you, brother.
Yeah,
Can I give them?
I want to say too.
Can I just give them one rule here?
Yes.
You guys can't ask multiple questions.
Just one question.
Yeah, don't hit him with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't keep going. Just ask a question. And I wanted Glenn to talk and give you guys a feel of who he is, and as you can see and hear, he's a very compassionate brother. You can feel that he's compassionate. He feels deeply. So, I don't want you guys to disrespect him. I know we talk crazy and be cursing and acting all crazy. Please do not disrespect my friend, Glenn Klausner. One question. Don't go over one question. So, Glenn, you ready?
Don't even go over a half a question.
You ready, brother Glenn?
I'm ready, brother Zoe.
Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome from Dallas, Texas, Yule, or is that UL? Yule? That's interesting. Yoel. Yoel. No, I think it's Yoel. That's a real name. Yoel is a real name. It's Hebrew for Joel. Yoel. Dallas, Texas, line 3. You're in the building. Holler at me. The voice of reason is now open for business.
Hey, how you doing, Zo?
I'm good, brother.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan. I've been listening to Zo What and all your shows that you're on, man.
Thank you, brother.
My question was, what is my calling in life?
That's heavy.
That is a very good one. Hello. Yoel is how your name is pronounced?
Yule.
Yule. Okay. Well, Zoe was saying that in the first place. The only other Yule I know is an actor named Yul Vasquez, who actually was on a couple of Seinfeld episodes. He was the guy that took the armoire from Kramer. And,
I remember that.
Right.
Yeah. And so your question is basically, well, the thing about really your own life's direction, which is one of the things as a medium that I never like to give this advice, because we've all gone through this, like even for myself when I was finding my career, to really feeling this. It's like what I would say, what I'm getting. First of all, there's two people that are guiding you. There's two males that are actually around you. There's one guy in an army. It looks like he's in an army camouflage outfit, standing near you. He's definitely deceased, by the way. And there's another man who seems to be related to your mother. Of a father kind of figure. I mean, he has whitish colored hair, short hair, and clean-shaven face. He looks to me like he was a very nice dresser, the second man that I'm looking at. And these two men are sitting near you energetically. And actually, one of them's holding a balloon, so I think that one's trying to tell me, I don't know if they're trying to tell me that this timeline is your birthday or it's one of theirs, because the spirits, when they acknowledge a birthday, they'll either do that with a balloon or a birthday cake. So this one's doing it with a red balloon. And I kind of would take that maybe... I would take the color of the red about having the courage. You see, what they're telling me is that we oftentimes are trying to find what our passion is, and that's goofing us up. What they're suggesting that you find what they call the curiosity, like sort of like the way animals are curious, right? You see dogs sniffing each other out on the street, or the way birds get around, and it's kind of like find whatever it is that you're curious about, because then you'll find the passion. You'll have the passion, because to find the passion first, and the advice that they're actually giving you is actually beneficial for anybody listening, because it's not that they're almost like in one way encouraging you to not be passionate, which sounds really weird. You're thinking, why are these deceased people telling me not to be passionate about something I want to be passionate about? They're saying to be curious. Like, find what makes you curious. Just like when you go into a restaurant, you look at a menu and you go, this pasta dish seems pretty interesting. I've never heard of this kind of what they put in the ingredients here. This seems interesting to eat. So there's a curiosity. There's not a passion there. And basically what's going to happen with you, you're going to start to see over the next 2-3 months, actually going into April, that you're going to get kind of, what I'm seeing is like you're kind of almost playing a tape recording backwards. And what I'm looking at with you is what you're doing, the soul of you is doing, is kind of going back. They told me to look at like when you were between 15 and 17, even 18, maybe even 19. Go back in those last 4 years of teenage years, 15 to 19 actually, to look at kind of like if you remember what your interests were or what you sort of really liked, what you thought was like would be a cool thing to do. And that is going to kind of plug you in to kind of this new paradigm for you between 2016 and 2017, that you're going to start to see some very unique things. And you're a very peaceful guy. I mean, they show me there's a lot of serenity around you, a lot of tranquility. You've got this. They're saying you've got this. So you just have to lift yourself up into it. Allow yourself to kind of emerge into it, because once you turn the light on, so to speak, you're going to go. Like, you're this kind, you've always been this since you're a little boy. What they're showing me, like, once you turn a light on, so to speak, you just go. Where sometimes people like stop and they start really evaluating and doubting or obsessing over something, and we all do. We all have it. But what you go through looks like that once you kind of get committed, like any person, a lot of people, when they get committed, they get committed. But when you're a lot more self-assured than you even realize. And they should show me something about a biography with you, of like maybe getting involved with some sort of a biography. And Zoe, I'm aware of your book, but I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think there's something with him about Yule with a biography of some sort. Maybe you're meant to collaborate something with somebody. Biography, because that's what I'm getting on you, Yule.
Wow.
Oh,
Hey,
wow.
brother, a lot of your stuff is moving into the future, moving into 2016. All you got to do is
Man,
say
right on
thank
time.
you, Glenn. That's all you got to
Thank you,
do.
Glenn. Thank
You're welcome, Yule.
Hey, we appreciate it. Let's move on. Hey, Hey, thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. I'm having a good time. Listen, if you want to participate, Yule brought Dallas into the building. If you want to bring your city into the building, all you got to do is call us at 323-230-4445. That is the number to dial on the Voice of Reason. The phone lines are cracking like crazy. You know what I'm interested in, though, Glenn? It seemed like
What's that, Bill?
last reading for this brother was all it was all future tense. Everything was, dude, right around the corner by April. Like right around the corner. Things are turning, unfolding. You know what I mean?
Well, he was asking a question like about his path, which I never want to tell somebody like, you should be a doctor when a person doesn't feel that, Even if spirit's very mindful of that too. But the only thing, they really weren't outside of the thing of just talking to him to look at his life. If he remembers between 15 and 19, to really kind of just look at what was his interest. What was he even thinking of? Like, what would he like to do? Back then. So that was really the only part of the past. I mean, spirits generally look to keep us in the present. Because what are you going to do? You can't live in the past. It's just a memory. You can't live in the future because it really hasn't happened yet. We're constantly writing it as we go along.
Got it. Hey, the phone lines are fully full right now. People are like, yo, the phone line is busy, so I can't get through. But that's okay. Let's go to Brooklyn, line number 4. Let's go to the city. You know what the city is. It's New York, 5 boroughs. Let's get Brooklyn in here. What's Fletcher?
My hometown. That's where I was born and raised.
Yeah? All right. Let's get him up in here. Fletcher, line 4. You're on the Voice of Reason. Do we have him? Engineer? Line 4? There we go. Fletcher, you're on the Voice of Reason. Holler at us. Fletcher? 3.
Zo?
Oh, yeah, boy. I was about to count you down, Fletcher. What's happening, man?
What's up, Zo?
What's the word, my friend? Speak to us.
Yeah. I'm trying to just find my path in life.
We got a lot of path seekers, Glenn.
What is he trying to do?
He said he's trying to
my
find
path.
his path in life.
Well, first of all, say a shout out to Canarsie. You know that town Canarsie over there in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
That's where I'm from originally.
All right.
Yeah?
Last stop
that's
on the
cool.
L train. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, so another path. Well, I don't know if you heard me talking a little bit to the caller previously. The path actually, you're really good with your hands, and I don't know why you should be. I kind of look. I never like telling anybody what to do with their life because your life is yours, But I do get the feel, you're really, really good with your hands. Like once you start molding things, like engineering, like people who would never think to build a computer. Like I'm sure, listen, 10 years ago, if somebody told you. If you went to somebody and said, I'm going to build this iPhone, you're like, what's an iPhone? Because iPhones didn't even exist 10 years. It came out in 2007. So it's like you actually have a lot of inventiveness in you, like kind of guys like Steve Jobs and Thomas Edison, people that were inventors, people that were creators, and you can really put your hands your mind and your hands, of course, and your heart into it to really use to kind of build things. It's sort of like these cars that people have been wanting, like the Jetsons kind of cars, but that might be problematic if we actually had those on Earth. But there is this thing like when people do a lot of the solar panel stuff and the greenhouse materials and things like that. I mean, you're really, really creative in that way to kind of build things that could be very beneficial for this planet in a global way. That's why I use the word.
I was thinking about building a car that runs on air.
Are you serious?
See, he just gave you the Jetsons breakdown, didn't he?
Wow.
Yikes.
See, right there. And you know what? It's not impossible, man, because the words are impossible. Because think about all the people, the Wright brothers who made airplanes, right? Now look at how many airplanes exist on Earth. In just 115 years. So you think about all these things that we have that no one had 100 years ago, even 25 years ago. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm being told to tell you is like, you really kind of want to look at it. One of the things that you do want to write this down, and this way you'll have it. Whatever you come up with, you're definitely going to want to patent it to protect it, because it's your idea this way that no one nicked the idea. And we live in a world where, some like when Steve Jobs came up with iPhone, I'm sure he patented it, and then of course you see all these other companies that started to build smartphones as well, which is wonderful. But you want to be the guy that's like, I'm the first that did it, or you're the first guy that really got to this point of it. Even if Leonardo da Vinci thought of it 300, 500 years ago, you put it to use in today's time. So, and it's not about someone stealing your idea so much. It's just more about kind of like making your mark, that you're the guy who, it's like being a songwriter. You're the guy who composed that song, and you'll do well. I mean, you really will do well. There's a woman. Her name sounds like Janet or Jeanette. You can write that down. Janet. It's a JNT kind of name, like Janet, Jeanette. She's going to be very important for you in relation to what we're talking about.
Wow.
She's very mothering, very nurturing, but she's like family. She's not your family member in actual life, but she'll be like family to you. And she's someone who's just like, she'd be like a big supporter, like as if she was your promoter, your manager, your business partner. She's like that. But real happy-go-lucky person, and very, very devoted and dedicated. But you'll feel like she was like. You'll feel like a mother, she's like a mom or a sister energy. You'll feel that kindred spirit with her.
Hey, and when it happens, you gotta call me and let me know, bro. You gotta call me and let me know, like, yo, Jeanette came and hollered at me, Zo. You gotta
Jeanette
tell
or
me.
Janet, it's that kind of name, a JNT name. And those are the only two names I can think of that sound, that vibration. But what's cool, though, I like the validation he gave about wanting to come up with the cars that go in the air.
That was crazy.
So,
that was
and just for the record, we have never met before, correct?
Yeah.
Listen, don't nobody know you on this show, Glenn. Don't nobody know you, Glenn. Hey, thank you, Fletcher. I appreciate it, man. Listen.
And say hi to Canarsie for me.
He's gone now. Listen, I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, give Glenn a break so he could stretch and get some mental yoga in, and then we're going to come back after this break. But get to your phone lines right now, 323-230-4445. You're listening to the Voice of Reason on Hot Button Radio. We're having a ball here right now. Hot Button Radio's crazy. I'm taking a break. I'll be right back. Ooh-wee. I love it, man. Listen, I believe in spirit. I'm not a religious person at all, right? As a matter of fact, I don't even get down with religion at all. But spirit is bigger than our little minds can comprehend. And I believe people out there exist like Glenn, who are sensitive to sounds we don't hear, who are sensitive to light most of us can't see. Glenn, I am really interested in knowing how the image of the Jetsons came into your mind, and then the guy confirmed it, right? He confirmed. Yul confirmed it. He was like, "Yeah, man, I had a feeling of building a car that ran on air or something like that." What did it look like? What is the process? Is it like a flash or a tingle, like Spidey senses? What is it, man?
I like that Spidey senses.
Right,
and I do like the fact that Michael Jackson's Thriller is playing in the background, because my friend, the great guitar player from Toto, Steve Lukather, plays on that song.
Exactly, man. Come on.
So anyway, the sensation is more. It's actually seeing through my mind's eye, the third eye, like we're in like a movie, basically. So of course, I know what the Jetsons are like. I watched had watched the show back in the day, and it was that's how, when I was saying earlier that spirits, when they're dialoguing with me, they will use things that are even in my frame of reference. All mediums will tell you that spirits will use things that we can kind of compute with. But sometimes, it's funny, there's spirits that talk to me, and they use words. I went through this last week. I used a word in a reading, the word vestige. And I said to the spirit, "You mean voyage?" And she was like, "No, vestige." I'm like, you mean like vestibule? She's like, no, vestige. Look the word up. And it was a word that I knew, but I had not heard in a really long time. And you know what? It made sense to what I was describing in that particular scene of the reading. So I thought it was kind of funny that I was using words that I normally don't even use in that, because the Spirit wanted to be crafty, I guess, and broaden my expansion. Not that I'm limited in words, because I have a pretty good vocabulary, but that's what I mean. Like, spirits will do things that we can, or in a frame of, that we can work with in our frame of reference. And a lot of times, and then sometimes spirits have to kind of find these themes. But with Fletcher's read, the thing about when I saw with his hands, like he could be building like the car, as an example, or like the car that runs on air, as he said. And that was really cool validation for me, because it's like, I didn't say, hey, he's going to own a restaurant, or a clothing store or something. It was pretty in there, especially with that Jetsons reference, which was kind of cool. But at the same time, I thought it was kind of like, it would be really funny if there were cars flying around on Earth that may not be the most beneficial for us. But then again, who knows? If people can drive friendly in the sky, it's just possible.
Wow. Listen, let me ask this, because a lot of people say this, and I have a difficult time believing it, because, you see flashes of it in everyone, but not everyone is considered a fucking psychic medium. Pardon my French, right? Not everybody's considered a psychic medium. But I'm told everyone has the capability to have a second sight. Now, I'm asking you, how, if that's true, how does one develop that or train that?
That's the key word, develop. It's not training. It's sort of like, well, maybe a little training. It's really just trusting. It's trusting. Every one of us, every day, does something that we are trusting the feeling on, whether it's, knowing how much, let's say if you're cooking let's say you're cooking, and you know how much oil to put in the pan without really oversaturating it. Or driving a car, and you know how much to accelerate and to brake and how much to turn that steering wheel so you're not hurting somebody or yourself. And it's the same thing with psychic abilities. It's a feel thing. It's like the easiest way I can come from a musician standpoint of this, or viewpoint rather, is like music. You listen to music like you just were playing Michael Jackson's Thriller, and you remember the video, which was an amazing video that Michael had did with all the people that are in that video. The choreography in that video was genius. And just think of how many hours went into that for these dancers to kind of work with Michael in that way. And he was genius. He was a genius as a performer and an artist and as a person, of course. And so just think of that. It's like trusting the feel and the movement to the piece of music. And how come he moved a certain way to that piece of music? Why wasn't he doing backflips, for that song? Wow. Because you see what I mean? Wow. So it's the same way with trusting your intuition and the feeling, and it's like dancing and music and like anything. It's like when somebody, maybe like even when somebody's grieving the loss of a loved one, we often don't know what to say to somebody. We say sorry, but sometimes we find words that can be very comforting to somebody else. They don't have to be grieving the loss of a loved one. It could be just maybe somebody's just going through a tough time for some other thing in life, and yet we find the words that are comforting or inspiring for somebody.
That's interesting. So you're telling me that there's a rhythm to being psychic. Because music is always rhythm, and rhythm is always vibe to me. And so there's a vibe and a rhythm, and you kind of got to quiet down a little bit in order to feel the rhythm. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I don't know if you have to quiet. Well, sometimes it will get more quiet and just it's feeling. It's everything, right? It's like because we are vibrational beings and we're feeling our way through things. It's like, remember the first time you ever walked barefoot in grass or on sand and what it feels like? And you try to describe, somebody says to you, what does it feel like to walk on sand? Or the first time you ate chocolate, and you're like, somebody says, what's that like? And you're trying to describe the taste that's oozing all over your mouth of chocolate. And it's the same thing, and it's really just a feel thing. So when talking to spirits or getting intuition, tapping into an inner knowing of things, first of all, we're all born knowing. See, as souls, we know. Our cells in our body know everything. It really does. We think it does. We think it doesn't because, well, we've just been trained that way. Now, if you were to put a scalpel in my hand to go, can you do brain surgery on somebody? I may look at you and go, you may not want me to do brain surgery because I don't have the knowledge. But then again, who knows? Maybe I'd open some base with a surgeon standing next to me. Not that I want to do this because it's not my forte to do brain surgery on somebody, but to open up, and I may intuitively know exactly where to go and what to do.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
It's really because somehow our cells, we're intelligent. Our cells are intelligence. They know how to heal. If once we get out of the way of, they know how to heal our body if necessary. It's when we were disallowing it. So when people like go on Facebook and they write that they have a cold, well, first of all, you're not helping yourself, number one, and you're not helping anybody that's reading it because you're basically killing them in a way with the words. You're infecting them. And so that's not to say, hey, when you put out prayers, like I just had the thing, with my family, 3 of my family members, and I had to ask for prayers. I mean, it's different, but it's like if I went to a full production, of it, it's like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but sometimes when people write that they got the sniffles, how can you help heal yourself if you're doing it, you're talking about it? And then everybody's reading what you were writing in that sense, and it's kind of like now they get infected with it. You see what I mean?
Right.
Our words are very powerful too, but the cells really, Zoe, is amazing, the intelligence that it carries and contains for all of us. And why, okay, you could say, well, why did a guy like Jimi Hendrix play guitar the way he played versus maybe like Jaco Pastorius, who was a great bass player, and always the musicians, and whether it be Duke Ellington, like Louis Armstrong, right? He had that unique singing voice, and he played trumpet great. He sang great because the way he was so unique. How come he sings like the other day I made a joke. I said, when I love listening to Louis Armstrong because he reminds me of Cookie Monster.
Wow.
But I wasn't making fun of him, because I appreciate Louis Armstrong as a singer.
Yeah.
But it's funny how the point is, what I'm saying is like everybody has their unique divine self, and if we were all exactly alike, it'd be pretty boring here.
Right. So let me ask you this. This is pretty selfish. My son, he just turned 19. I think, what is it? A week and a half ago. About a week ago. Just turned 19.
Happy birthday to him.
Yeah, Oh,
Yay.
sorry. He's a basketball player at Auburn University.
You know what? And I remember you had a son. I didn't even realize about the basketball thing. I was just about to say, what's with the whole basketball thing with him? But go on.
There it is. He's hooping. I want to know if he's going to have a good season. Because right now...
He's going to...
Go ahead.
He's going to have a really good career. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, he's got a career, and he has a career and a real strong potentiality career. And I'm not saying that because you're his parent. It's lined up for him. He already predestined that before being born, from what I can see. There was two big options for him. He said one was to be a light worker, actually, here on Earth, to be like, that's not to say he can't ever do that throughout his life, to be very angelical for other people, because you don't know. He may go into a children's hospital and bring toys for kids that are, in children's hospitals and just be that angelical presence being in that scenario kind of thing. But his thing was like, okay, do I want to be a light worker, sort of like me in the sense, like a guy who talks to deceased people, but him being a healer, or do I want to be this MBA? And he said, you know what? I think I want to go for this time around, because before I did that other gig and like, okay, that was cool, but now I want to try something else that I'm not dependent on, because in this way he's not dependent on certain things, like maybe that a healer, like if he had been a doctor, he may have a whole load of patients and people really depending on him, and if they go, hey, this didn't help me, and then he wouldn't be able to handle that.
Wow.
But he could still do angelical kind of things. Like he might, again, get involved with kids. Like, how there's the kids that are, what, I don't like the terminology special needs kids, but kids that are called special needs, where he might be like bringing these kids on, like, when they have those baseball camps, right? And so I don't know if they have this with basketball, but it's a similar thing where kids come and they can hang out with the basketball players and the kids that you see with Down syndrome. I don't like to even use those words, but it's a bit to understand. Kids that are a little bit different than us, if you will, but they're really not different. They just look different or they think different.
Let me
autism, whatever.
Let me stop you right here. This is what's crazy. Yeah. In his junior year in high school, there was a senior kid that was allowed to participate on the basketball team who had Down syndrome. His name was Matt. And he bonded with New. He bonded with my son. And my son was the guy, like, if he was going through something, like on the bench, he don't listen to nobody else but my son. My son will go talk to him. And my son would keep him calm. My son, made sure my son was this kid's cheerleader. And this guy was a senior in high school and he graduated, but he didn't graduate until they put him on the basketball team. He got a chance to get in a game once. And my son was his biggest advocate, and the guy's dad would sit with me all the time. So the fact that you're paralleling hoops with community service, that's one of the biggest things that my kid locked into while he's at college. They do a lot of community service. And my son posts a lot of pictures of himself serving. And I just think for you to see into that, that's crazy. Listen, we've got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to revisit the callers for a short time. This is one of my good friends, Glenn Klausner, one of the world's best. When I tell you, he's on a short list of one of the world's best psychic mediums. When I come to the phone lines, when I come to you, one question. Keep it short. No follow-ups. Get that info. We'll be back at 2.2. The voice of reason, Hot Button Radio, Dash Radio. We'll be back at 2.2. DJ! Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of reason has returned to Hot Button Radio. ZoWilliams in the building right now, joined by my co-host, who's a little late today, but she made it. Whitney Tabor is in the building. Whitney, I gotta update you.
I was trying to listen for a little bit.
Oh, so you're aware?
Glenn.
That my homeboy Glenn.
My boy G.
You don't even know Glenn.
I know.
My boy G. You don't even know
Anybody
Glenn. My homeboy G is on the phone that I never met.
You can instantly become best friends with somebody by just taking their first letter and be like, yeah, that's my guy G, Yeah.
This is Whitney Tabor, Glenn. Glenn,
Hello,
Whitney.
Beautiful Whitney Tabor.
Hey, Glenn, what's up?
Dude, he hella psychic. He called you beautiful.
Oh, my gosh.
And I don't even know what she looks like.
When I tell you she beautiful, though, when I tell you she is pretty.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, it's all in the spirit more than the body.
Yes. Yeah. You like that, huh?
I like that better than the beautiful. I got a good spirit. I like the good spirit. I love it.
Yeah. I love it. So listen, we're going through some callers right now, just a couple, and then we're going to get back to conversation with Glenn because we don't want to burn him out. But one question, okay? I got friends texting me like, yo, ask him about me. Like, first off, ask him what? Ask him about me.
I know you.
Okay, Glenn, they want to know what's up with them. That ain't no question. Ask him about me.
That ain't no question.
That ain't no question, right?
Funny.
So listen, we've got some people on the line right now. And like I said before, please remember the rules. Be very respectful to Glenn. No cursing, none of that.
I just got to say this because there's this girl that I met, and when she asked me, what do you do for? Well, when people always say to me, what do you do for a living? I tell them I am living just like you are. So my occupation has nothing to do with me living and breathing. But anyway, when she said, okay, so what's your occupation? I told her. She's like, really? And so, we were talking. She goes, what can you tell me about me? And I looked at her, and I just jokingly said, a lot. But then I just said, if you don't know what about yourself, what more do you think I know about you than what you don't know about you?
Right.
So when people say, what can you tell me about me? It's like, what do you want me to tell you? It's like, you be specific in the question, then I can look at it.
I like it. That's a flippity dippity.
Flippity dippity.
He just flipped it on her. You need to know yourself, girl.
You like food. Yes. How do you know?
You sleep. That's what I can tell you, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to line 6. A sister, Angelita from Virginia. Angelita, you're on the voice of reason.
He did. He wanted to say it.
Yes, I was on the border. A vagina. Angelita, are you on the line? 3. And scene. Let's cut her. We got to move. We got to move because people are trying to get in. So we got to move. Okay. Line 3, Dominique. Dominique, you're on the line. Speak to us, honey.
Yes, I have a question about my career. And what do my future career look like?
Are you that kind of psychic, Glenn?
Well, she asked about what's her future like?
Yes, her career. Like, what is it going to look like? How is it going to develop?
Well, the first and foremost thing is sort of like what I was talking about earlier. You know, we're constantly creating every minute of our lives, whether we realize it or not. And when we have things like this of like, what is, like what's my career going to look like? You can really never predict that because you'd have to see it the way you want to see it. I would say to tell this to anybody, even my own loved ones, my own family members or friends, it's like tell yourself the story that you want to hear because when you're in same thing in my own career. Like, if I said went to another meeting and said, what do you see for my career? And I'm not laughing at anybody that asked that question. I'm laughing at myself because it's like, well, what would I want to see out of my career? The longevity of it. And it's normal because when people have, whether you're self-employed like myself or you're employed by somebody else and getting compensated for it, and many people, they have benefit packages and all that kind of stuff. People want to feel secure in their job. We all do. You want to feel secure, but you got to just feel secure. And if you really love what you're doing, then you're okay. And life holds the thing with life at this point for anybody. There is no guarantee. Look, Zoe, you've been hosting a radio show for a number of years. I've been on your other shows in the past, and you had them on different networks.
Right.
So, you're still doing the same gig, but you're doing it in a different place, a different building.
Mm-hmm. And a different way. Yeah, with different people.
In a different way.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's just really kind of creating like the kind of, or if there's a career that you want to do, is like what would be the ideal career, your dream career, to do? Like what would you love doing? Or if the job that you currently have, this is what I was talking about earlier about affirmations. I recommend anybody to Google the word not affirmations, but affor. Instead of the I for affirmations, the first I, put an O there, affirmations. And saying like, if you go, what's so great about my career? Why am I so successful in my career? And now your brain starts finding these things to ask other questions, like, well, if I was to do it myself, like, why do so many people seek me out to have readings? Well, because I'm publicly out there. I'm known for what I do. I'm reputable. I value myself. And I'm good at what I do, and I'm people-oriented, and I really love doing what I do. So those are kinds of things I would even answer to myself, but it's not a cocky thing. So the career thing, what I'm giving to you is to really help you because you can reshape it any way you want. That's the beautiful thing about us being creative beings, and even if you say, well, I work with these people that are idiots, I would say get that out of the vocabulary because that doesn't help because the constant thing in the head over and over, these people are idiots, you'll be dealing with the same mirror reflection.
It's kind of, you're creating more of what you don't want. And
yeah.
And I'm starting to understand why you're answering the way you're answering. And it's really, I think what Glenn is doing is saying you're part of the creative process of your process. Like you're a part of the creative process of your process. So to ask, where am I going or where is this going? It's probably going to crash into something if you're not in control of what you're creating, or at least aware of what you're creating, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, because we are our own point of attraction. And so, somebody could say, well, but I didn't create that to happen. Like, I didn't do anything for this to happen to me. In some way, you may have, on an energetical level, you may have had a fear that something was good. Like, I've dealt with this with people with relationships where I remember one time, this the long story short, this friend of mine was in a relationship, and the long story short of it was basically the girlfriend that he had at the time, she told him from the get-go that none of her relationships lasted more than 2 years because the guy got bored of her. Well, you know what happened? My friend put that out of his mind totally while he was dating this particular girl, which was many, many years ago, because he's now married to somebody else. And do you know when the 2 years came up, all of a sudden he was really losing interest in her. And I remember him telling me, he goes, I don't know why I'm losing interest. And I said, well, let me ask you, did she ever say anything to you about her previous relationships? And he says, oh, yeah, she told me that no guy's ever lasted more than 2 years with her. I'm like, how long are you with her now? He goes, 2 years. I go, So she basically, she put out in what they call a vortex, her fear, and you heard it, but you totally forgot about it. And now when the timeline came up, it was like, there it happened. Now she was without a boyfriend again because he lost the interest in her. Because it was something she sent out as that signal.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm telling you, we are so powerful, Zoe and Whitney, that, our thoughts really, nobody, could somebody say, like, can I give an example of something? And I want to show how, because people say, well, why would we attract a hurricane? Or why would we have a school shooting? Or, a 9/11 or this thing that happened in Paris, France? And that's sometimes tough questions to answer because, a lot of it is contractual with souls to go to even just awaken us, to inspire us. And physical death, to me, is one of the greatest teachers there is besides love, because death always teaches us to live life and maybe to be even kinder to ourselves, kinder to other people. When we hear about things like what's recently been going on in places like Paris, and not just even that, but throughout history. So I want to give an example of something, of just how thoughts are powerful. And I'm sure everybody listening to the show, or majority of people knew who John Lennon was as an artist and a musician.
Yeah.
So John Lennon was a very brilliant man, very intuitive, very witty, as you know, and there was a big love for activism, as he demonstrated as well. So one of the things that John Lennon was very interested in, a lot of people don't know this, that John Lennon was very fascinated with assassinations. When guys like Kennedy and Dr. King and the Kennedy brothers, rather, and Dr. King and I think it was Malcolm X, many people that were assassinated, he was very kind of fascinated. And when his comment when he was in the Beatles, the comment that got very misconstrued by Americans with that whole Beatles being bigger than Jesus bit, there was a video footage, because I asked John Spirit, why did this incident happen to him, the death scene like that? And he said, oh, because I scripted it. And I said, what do you mean? He says, he explained to me that he was so fascinated with being assassinated, and he knew that, this was the way he was going to die. He believed that because he was a violent person early on, because he wasn't always Mr. Nice Guy, he believed he would die in violence. And the funny thing is, the guy that shot him was a very peaceful guy early on, turned just violent in that moment. So
Wow. You know what's crazy about what you're saying right now? You're using John Lennon, but in my mind, you're using John Lennon, and in my mind, I'm thinking Tupac, Biggie.
Exactly. And so
wow.
in John's case, there's a video footage of him that I saw on the E channel. They had the 100 most shocking celebrity deaths, and his came up at the moment I turned the TV on, and it was that channel, which I normally never watch that channel. But anyway, there's a video footage of him in black and white where now what reporter in their right mind says to somebody, how do you think you're going to die? And without a blink, John Lennon says, this is in 1965 or 1966. He says, some loony will probably pop me off.
Wow.
Well, that's what happened in 1980.
Wow. Whatever the thinker thinks, the prover will prove.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that John Lennon really wanted to die like that in some way, because especially at the end there, he just made this new record. He was really feeling up, really happy, and his life was peaceful, a lot more peaceful at that point. But he even had said days before he passed, he said that if someone gets him, it's going to be a fan. So he kind of knew, in some way. And so but those two, a lot of people don't understand that, because they look at a guy, some nutty fan that just shot him, and if they understood it from the spirit of John Lennon, they'd be like, oh, I see. You wrote the story.
Wow. Whitney had a question for you, Glenn.
Well,
you think with Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, has anybody asked to speak to the other side or no? Or?
No.
I mean, I was,
Chris wanted to.
I was
our
gonna ask-
engineer, DJ, everybody wants to ask.
geez.
Jesus.
Well, it's my turn, guys. Listen.
You settle down, young man.
Listen. No, I just wanted to. I've experienced like ghosts and everything since I was a kid too. And my grandfather passed away probably 3 or 4 years ago, and he always keeps popping up in my dreams. So I'm just kind of like, what is my grandpa trying to say to me? I always think it's like, take care of grandma, because that's just what I would do. But I was seeing if we could tap in, holler at.
Well, I want to see. Well, I want to see if this is the guy that's connected to you. If he's the guy that had some sort of stomach-related issue in relation that maybe caused in the month of June, and I'm not sure if this is him or somebody else that's in the room there with you, meaning one of the other people that works there with you, that is their male relative that had some sort of maybe pancreatic kind of issues and stomach stuff. There's like even diabetes.
Wait, stop. Stop. Jesus.
I don't know.
Okay, Chris is in the studio right now. I'm sorry, Glenn. I had to do this.
Sure. I want you to interrupt me.
Chris is in the studio. Chris is her male cousin. Just by the way. You mentioned, I'm sorry. Just finish.
Hey.
Just finish with Whitney. Jesus. But Chris is sitting here like, is he talking about me?
Chris is
nobody
like,
knows that.
His appendix about to burst in June, player. Get ready. You should just prep now.
I told you them damn Jimmy Dean sausages was going to catch up to you, boy. I'm sorry, Glenn. Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
No, so what are you saying? That he's born in June?
He is born in June. June 14th, by the way. Jesus.
Is he having stomach-related stuff going on?
You got the bubble guts, guys?
He don't know right now, but you just pulled 2 of them right out, and he's sitting right here.
Crazy.
Cousin June sitting right there. Thank you.
Wait, so
Finish.
He's what? Whitney? What are you saying, cousin? He's really Whitney's cousin?
He's Whitney's cousin. You said a male relative.
Okay, so wait a minute. So
studio.
maybe the grandfather is talking about this. No, I keep getting like these railroad tracks. Like, let me ask you: when your grandfather was a young man, do you know if he lived near somewhere where there was like the railroad tracks?
I could not tell you that. I have no idea.
Okay, you may be able to ask your grandma. First of all, he made a joke. His energy is making a joke to me. He said, when he comes to visit you, he's saying that new Adele song.
He's saying hello?
Yeah. He's just being funny.
He's a funny guy.
But he showed me even like when Lionel Richie had that hit song "Hello," "Hello, is it me?" You're asking, asking for whatever the line was. He goes that the month of September is relevant. I kind of get July and September, so is significant in his world, in his thing. He looks to me kind of like this. When you say he's funny, I grant that to you, but I also kind of get that he's like martial law. I think it's kind of like before you came into existence as you. When I look at him as a young guy, I can see him kind of being like, remember Charles Bronson?
I do.
Do you remember
I
the
do.
movie Death Wish? So in the movie Death Wish, Charles Bronson was like this architect guy, very nice, quiet kind of guy. But because in the first movie his wife and daughter get killed, he becomes a vigilante. Basically, he starts like killing all these bad guys, and because he just wants to get rid of the people that are like that. So when I look at your grandfather, I'm not saying he was a killer, but I can see him kind of being like the sheriff in town, sort of like, listen, don't. Like, I see him drawing the line in the sand, like, listen, you want to come over here, there's a respect thing, there's boundaries. And it's like, I feel like he's about truth. I think when he comes through to you, it's about you always, it's not just looking in on grandma, it's about, like, always honoring your truth, and the same thing for your cousin there, always honoring your truth, and it's okay to question everything. It's okay to question who you are. To go, who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? What am I supposed to be?
Whitney?
That's crazy. No, because grandpa was like the hammer. Like some of my cousins were too scared to even talk to him because he was super, super, super smart. And he would ask us all these like questions. Like after I would leave college, and I lived with him and my grandmother when I went to college, and I would come home and tell him I was in this class, and then he would give me a second lecture that I'm like, I just wanted to tell you I had a good day, but now you're schooling me and I don't even know what I'm learning. So a lot of people were like, I guess, scared of him because he was like that hammer, but he had such fun. If you were just,
he's saying the martial law.
Yeah, man, it's like,
wow.
He's saying don't fook with me.
Yep.
Don't fook.
No fooking
No
around.
food, yeah. He took a stick and he drew like a line in dirt on the sand, like, this is your room, this is your side of the room. That doesn't mean you can't come to his side of the room, but it's almost like the game Simon Says. You know, if I was to his house and I just walked in nonchalantly into his kitchen and opened the refrigerator up as a guest, I'm not his family member, to take, if he said to me, help yourself, take whatever you want to eat or something, different story. Or if I said to him, you mind if is it okay if I have a glass of water? And he could say, I'll pour your glass, or get your glass, or you help yourself. But if I just danced into his kitchen and opened the refrigerator,
You'd have a problem.
I might have a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
Wow.
I mean, he wouldn't throw me out of the house, but he might have a little conversation with me and go, there's a thing here you can ask.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a major. He retired out of the Air Force, a major, so he was no joke.
That's crazy. Listen, listen. We have to take a breather.
Well, hello, Grandpa.
We're going to take a quick break, man. Glenn Klausner.
By the way, hold on. I know you got to take this break, but I want to get this really quick to the cousin there. He put his hand on his stomach and he said, every food that you're eating, do not have a negative thought about it. So don't worry whether you're eating a bag of chips or you're having, an apple. Just think love. Just bless the food that you're eating and the beverages that you're drinking, and just don't get caught up in not to get caught up in the emotions. That's the message to the cousin. He goes, but not to get freaked out about food, whether it's got GMOs or whatnot, because you'll drive yourself batty. Just
wow.
enjoy the food.
When I tell you you're describing this dude, he prays over his food every single time. He never misses a prayer, and he doesn't even think about it. Be me. It's me talking to him like, hey, you shouldn't eat that. He'd be like, man, this is delicious. He loves it, and he'll pray over it, and he's good.
Food's meant to be enjoyed.
Wow.
Don't freak out. Don't worry. Don't freak out about Monsanto.
Yo, we're about to take a quick break. The voice of reason, man.
We would all be dead right now if that was the case.
If we were freaking out about it, for sure, right? Yeah. Listen, this is a great show. My good friend Glenn Klausner is in the building. Before we take this break, Glenn, you have a website, you have an email, just in case people want to reach out and purchase a reading from you. How do they do it? How do they connect to you? Let's do it right now.
They can go directly to my website at www.glenn with two N's, Klausner, KLAUSNER.com. Or if they forget that, they can make it easy and just go to bestpsychicmediums.com and click on the link that says Mediums List, and they'll see me. My link is there.
Hey, you guys got to support Glenn Klausner. He's my good friend. And as you can see, he ain't no damn joke. Listen, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, more conversation and maybe a couple of more callers. We'll talk to you guys in a second. Deuces. The police. That's the only police I like. Welcome back to the Voice of Reason, man. We just in here vibing and chilling, having a deep conversation about spirit, A lot of people are listening. A lot of people are on Twitter tweeting questions and retweeting questions. And I want to give out Glenn's website again, GlennKlausner.com.
How do you spell Klausner?
Ask him. He's right there.
Oh, hey, G, how do you spell Klausner?
Glenn with two N's.
Okay.
Yes. And then KLAUS, and like Nancy, ER.
Glenn Klausner. Listen, one of the best in the world, and earlier today we had people that were, like, I'm going to call in and ask him. This is on my Periscope. I'm going to call in and ask him when I'm going to die. Like, oh, you brave, huh? Right, you really brave, huh? I was like, okay.
Next week, I would play with people. They don't want me to have some powers like this because I would abuse my powers.
You're gonna die tomorrow.
So let me get that Xbox you just bought. Can I get that?
That's mean. That's mean, Whitney.
It's funny, right?
But let me just say this: like I'm a weirdo.
For sure.
I believe in all of the powers that are beyond the social narrative that they teach us as normal. I believe that there's more to life than just this humdrum normal script they've been giving us. right? They only want you at half power. And when I say they, I mean the power that be. They don't want you to think the way Glenn is telling you you can think, right? Glenn was
the power that be for yourself.
You see that? So this is why I bring someone on.
Power that can be.
Exactly. You're the power that can be instead of looking to the powers that be. And this is why
the powers that think they be.
The powers that think they be. Right? Mm-hmm. And this is why I will bring someone like Glenn on, you know, because I've had a direct experience with Glenn. I think the first reading Glenn gave me, I think my great-grandmother or somebody came through. Me and my great-grandmother had an interesting little relationship. It was crazy. You guys heard me talk about her before. Emma Sue.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But when she came through, it was very supportive of me, you know. And it was interesting. I think my mother came through as well. It was a, you know, I'm a weirdo. So I reach out to Glenn. I go, Glenn, I want you on the show. Give me a reading so I can vet you out for myself personally. Because when I introduce you to all these people, I want to introduce you from a space of experience. So they'll know that I've had an experience with you. He's like, sure. Glenn was a chap about it. And he gave me that reading. And a lot of information came through, you know, that he couldn't have possibly known. And I was like, Glenn is the real deal. And the crazy thing is, you remember that show I brought you on, Glenn? It was you and B. Hers.
Yes, I remember.
Oh, my God. And when I tell you, he was like the left-hand jab and she was like the right-hand cross. And the callers were going back and forth. So one caller would call in and pick B. And B would knock their socks off. Then the next caller would call in and pick Glenn. And Glenn would knock. That was an incredible show, was it not, Glenn? Do you remember that show?
I remember doing the show with B. I don't remember much about it, you know, because it's a couple of years ago now, at least 4 or 5 years, if I'm right.
I remember it was awesome, bro. It was awesome. I remember it.
I'm sure it was. You know, I mean, I remember I was on your show at least 2 or 3 other times prior to this one tonight.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what I did. But I definitely remember there was that one that I did with B. And then I remember there was another one that I did with another friend of mine. I believe it was my friend Denise Lascano.
Well, no, was it Sandy? I think it was Sandy.
Yes, you're right. My friend Sandy Athey.
Yeah,
right.
She's dope too. Man, she was really fly too. I mean, Glenn's been doing this forever, man. And this is his... Wait a minute. Before we get to the phone lines, let's go back and talk about your music, Glenn. I want people to support your music. I wish we would have got some of your music and played it during this show today. Glenn's a musician, by the way.
Next time.
You know? Well, we'll definitely bring Glenn back. But Glenn, where do they find your... And tell them your musician name. It's a different name.
Oh, my musician name is Pepe Le Pew. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like,
No.
My musician name is Glenn with 2 N's, Kid with 2 D's. So, and they can go to YouTube, and I have not only the music videos that I currently have there, but there's also, if you look at the playlist, there's tracks that are from my CD, Breathe, Love, Life, and I think like my 3 singles, which I have 2 of them as videos for my singles, God and Drag and Go Love Yourself. So they can check out the music. It's basically, I call it mom pop rock, which is apropos for using a name like Glenn Kidd. But the music's like a combination of, you know, I'm so influenced by so many great musicians, you know, from the early, I mean, you don't really hear it in my music, like the jazz, all the old jazz greats and stuff like, and then Elvis, and then going into the 60s of the Beatles and Motown, and, you know, I'm influenced by all these people like Smokey Robinson and Marvin Gaye, and the Ronettes, and then Frankie Valli and all these people. And then in the 70s, the hard rock stuff like Cheap Trick and Led Zeppelin. Zeppelin was late 60s and 70s. So there's a lot of that. And then early 80s, I got the Billy Idol and the Pretenders are in there. So they're all kind of influential to me in my music. And lyrically, the majority of those songs, I mean, obviously if you hear titles like Safe to Smile, God and Drag, Go Love Yourself, these kinds of songs are basically, they're lyrically uplifting and inspiring, and I wouldn't say them because I wrote them, but they are. They're not Debbie Downer kind of songs. They're not songs that are going to make you want to hurt yourself. And that's not my intent. So, yeah.
So please go support Glenn Klausner. This is a call to action.
YouTube channel. Yeah. that. Go to YouTube. Spread my YouTube channel all over the place.
All you got to do is send me that link, man, and I'll tweet it out.
It's very easy. YouTube.com/Glenn Kidd. Glenn with 2 N's, Kid with 2 D's.
Got you.
Boom.
I like Glenn. He's a great guy.
Thank you. Likewise.
So let's do this. We've got some more callers on the line. I love the female callers. Marie? Line 6, Marie from Detroit.
Hello.
What up, Marie?
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
Hello.
Good. How are you?
What question do you have for Glenn Klausner?
Okay. So, what do I need to know about my relationship in order for it to evolve, or am I just wasting my time?
That's a good question. Well, first thing is important is that you're loving you always, no matter what, because, in life, people love us and people will hate us, and it has nothing to do with us at all, which is really a weird way of looking at things. But at the same time, you kind of go, well, that was an interesting statement. But it's loving you no matter what. As far as relationship, as you know, relationships are the most unique kind that we have here on Earth, and the dynamics of it, right? So when this thing, can you rephrase your question to me about what you need to know, or can you restate it to me, Marie? I apologize.
I guess, what do I need to do for myself and for the man I love in order to get it to evolve?
Just love you. I heard clearly, love you. Really important that you're loving you, no matter what the conditions are or what the things are. It's like you can love, as long as you're loving. It's very uncommon for people to do this with themselves, because they'll love somebody else unconditionally or love their pets unconditionally. But it's important that you're loving you unconditionally, loving your life as it is. So you've got this man that you love and you care about. And the thing is, you'd ask yourself, am I having fun in this relationship? What's fun about, or you could say, what's fun about this relationship? And then you're looking for the things that are fun and the things that are, the things that even help you evolve. Like, so let's say this guy knew things that you don't know, right? And you learn from that, which is what we all offer people in relationships. And it's not that they're better. You don't want to look at him as being better than you or you being better than him, but you look at each other as cooperative components that are evolving together. I would never look at a relationship as a waste, even if you thought that this guy's an idiot. It's because there's always a learning there. It's common for us that we prefer not maybe wasting our time doing certain things or being with certain people because of things. I mean, that if somebody's constantly yelling at you and putting you down, and whether it's a family member or a friend or anything else, I'm not saying there's nothing stating that you're obligated to staying with this person because they're your family member or anything like that. And it's really tough sometimes because people are locked into those situations, and how do you get out of it when somebody's not so nice? But you have a person that's nice, then you don't need to really question it. It's like, if there's a saying, if love is the answer to everything, what is the question? So if you can kind of look at just the positive, accentuate on the positives of it, then it's okay. But again, now I'm not saying that to anybody, that if you're in a relationship where people are mistreating you, that doesn't mean that you have to be in there. No matter how much love you have for them, it doesn't mean it should cost you your own health or possibly even your own life. And so it's nobody's worth it in that way, and it sounds selfish, but what spirits educate me on is actually being selfish. And what I mean by that, and I'll give you the definition of it, it's not like if I made a sandwich for myself and you ran over to me and grabbed the sandwich out of my hand and ran off. I mean, I might laugh. I might go, well, I can make another sandwich. But it's being selfish for yourself is meaning that you're tending to your own vibration. You're honoring your divinity, your Marie-inity, if you will. So you're really just first and foremost is taking care of what your needs are. And every person on earth should do that. Like, a lot of people will do this when they have kids. They put their kids before their marriage or their relationship with their boyfriend and girlfriend, or if they're two girlfriends or two boyfriends, whatever it is. And that maybe is not always the most best thing. Because you had a relationship with a partner first, and I'm not saying that to not put your kids in that mix of it, right? But a lot of people do this. They'll sacrifice, you may be having an ice cream because the kid, wants a toy from Toys R Us. And so it's kind of, and I know people could be like, but you don't understand, my kid's got, I would give my kid food faster than I give myself food. I understand that, and I'm not denying that. But at the same time, if you wanted, God forbid, on an airplane, and the plane was going down, the pilot said, everybody put on your, get the life vest out or whatever, and you were like, I'm going to help people, you would grab your oxygen mask first so you can help other people.
Right.
See what I mean? So that's what spirits are talking about, being selfish. It's like that way. You want to put the oxygen mask on you first so you could be of help to other people. And by the way, just so for the record, you need not to worry about that statement about flying, but I just used it as an example to you. So I don't want you to get in your head and go, oh, my God, am I going to be on a plane and something's going to happen to me? No.
Wow. Listen, Marie, I appreciate you for calling in. Did he touch on anything?
Yeah, good stuff.
Good. I appreciate you, young lady. Thank you for calling in all the time. Yo, that's just amazing, man. That's, to be able to tap into somebody's life. I always say, man, I want to be of service.
You are a service.
You're
providing this show for people, like with me being on your show tonight. You're providing a service to people, and whether 10 people are listening to the show right now or 10,000, or whatever the amount is of people, it's people listening. And if they feel inspired by what we're saying, hey, that's wonderful. And I get inspired by people like you and the callers too.
Wow. Glenn, what is the world going to look like, man, in a little while?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Wait,
Joe?
let me pull that one back. I forgot. My DJ over here and producer, Whitney's cousin, he had a question for you. Chris, I want to introduce you to my friend Glenn. Now, Chris, hold on. You be on your best behavior, you understand?
One question.
On your best behavior. Chris, Glenn, Chris.
Hello. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Glenn, how you doing? So,
Thank you.
Just to get down to it, I'm good. So, about 2 years ago around this time, one of my best friends committed suicide. And I just wanted to see if he's okay.
All spirits that go through that kind of experience actually are okay. I mean, they don't recommend that we do it, but they just basically did it for whatever reason they've done it. It just happened to a lot of people, as you know, throughout life. And I've never had a spirit. I've talked to a lot of spirits who've passed from what we call suicide. None of them have actually told me that they're not okay. I mean, that doesn't mean that they're, at first, I mean, they look at everything that people like us experience, like the grief, and, they look at through our eyes and our hearts and what we're thinking and feeling. And so that doesn't mean that they're like laughing at us going, thank God I'm not there anymore dealing with you. It's not like that. There really is a sense of a lot of love and pure love. And when people pass of any kind of passing, and a lot of spirits, I'll share something with you so it gives you and the audience a broader perspective about what we call suicide. People who have been very miserable their whole life. I've heard this from a suicide spirit once years ago. He educated me very strongly about suicide, that if a person here on earth is really unhappy, for whatever reason, they're miserable, they're drinking themselves to death or drugging or not even taking drugs and alcohol out of an equation, and they're just really mean, they're unhappy, they don't have love to themselves or other people. It's actually what's called a slow suicide. And people who are always talking negatively about themselves, that they're always broke, they can never find the love of their life, so forth and so on, all these negative behaviors. They're fat, whatever it is. And so there's slow suicide. The only difference between a person who physically went through like what your friend went through is they just did it in a different way and they did it faster. And
because it was
the thoughts, thoughts can be just as suicidal as the physical actions. And so most people don't understand this because the church is churches have kind of had people thinking like suicide is this thing and morally it's wrong. And,
Right.
So it's really. We don't know, if we have compassion, we don't know what your beloved friend here was going through. And what happens is when somebody goes through like what he experiences, what they call getting out, they were not in the vortex. They got out of a vortex, which we all do. We get in the vortex and we get out of it. It happens to me. It happens to every one of us. And that day he was basically not in the vortex. So but every soul I've ever talked to, no matter how they've passed away, whether it was a homicide, a suicide, vehicle accident, cancer, whatever it may be, they're all okay. And what you could do is ask him to send you signs. So, maybe things that you would know it was him. You would know in your heart. You wouldn't even doubt it. Maybe you go into a store and somebody looks similar to him and says, hi, may I help you? And you look at the guy and go, wow, that's funny. He looks like my friend. Things like that. And that's why I always tell people, for signs, maybe you're in a restaurant and the waiter comes over and says, hi, I'm so, whatever your friend's name is, and you see the name, the guy says his name, where there's the name tag, and you're like thinking, okay, I know I didn't make that happen. You know? Wow. So there are no coincidences, yes.
But you know what, Glenn? You give a great example, but a lot of people are really afraid to do that because of, religious shaming, like you can't talk to spirits, that's evil,
Well, we're talking to each other, and we're in physical form.
Exactly.
We're spirits in a physical body. There's nothing evil. I've never had in my career a spirit tell anybody, including myself, even my own loved ones in spirit. I've never had a spirit tell me or anybody else to go harm themselves, ever, ever. Even if you had a grandma that was meaner than mean, and she was on Earth and told you go after yourself. In a spirit perspective, they'll come through like that, so it validates who they are, for you, the client. But the spirit is not going to keep telling you that anymore because they're not in the ego. That's the thing. They're not in the ego anymore.
And they're not in pain anymore, so they're going to speak from an entirely different perspective than the one that they were in when they were here suffering.
They're going to speak from what's called pure positive energy, which is what we all came from. All of us, every one of us that has existed on Earth, that has done even things that were not nice. But this is the place where we have the contrast. That's why we've come here and we have the free choices, and we do the things that we do for whatever reason we do them, be it positive or negative. And we don't know. Like somebody in this lifetime, I give a quick example of something. Let's say an Adolf Hitler, as an example, who killed 1 million Jewish people. We don't know that maybe in another lifetime he was a really lovely fellow. Maybe he saved 1 million people. Maybe he was like this guy that just made sure everybody to safety. They were on a boat and he saved them. And so another experience, you could say, well, why would a dude like that want to have that kind of experience? We don't know. But I'm sure Adolf Hitler, as a little boy, didn't sit there in his room when he was playing with whatever he was playing with. I'm sure he didn't think, gee, one day I want to grow up and kill 1 million Jewish people. You see?
Right.
So it just, something happens along the way. We don't know, and it's hard to understand that for anybody, So I think it was just thing is like we don't know. It's like why somebody is so kind and loving this lifetime, but that person that you're looking like you could be looking at me as this kind, loving person, which I mostly am, but how do we not know that in another lifetime I was some real son of a bitch and did some nasty stuff?
How truthful was that? Which I mostly am. I mean, that was great.
Right?
That's real.
Hey, I love it. Listen, one of our callers, she's a regular, and I would say she is somewhat psychic. She can't get in, but she tweeted me. The phone lines are jam-packed. She tweeted me and asked a very powerful question. And I don't know how I feel about it, but Jesus, it's very powerful. I don't know her real name, but we know her as
Jesus.
Right, we know her as Miss Lips.
Miss Lips?
Yeah, Miss Lips. And I think she's from Atlanta, but she currently resides in Arizona. Damn, am I giving out too much information?
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
She might have some stalkers.
My bad. Jesus, my bad. Miss Lips don't live there no more.
But lives somewhere on the planet. That's all we need to know.
Exactly. But she asked a very powerful question. She said, can you ask Glenn if my grandparents sold their souls?
The devil?
I don't know, man. I didn't even know you could. I didn't even know that you could sell your soul
for the low.
Well, that's in the fact that what's so beautiful about all of this is that we have a certain set of beliefs, right? If I say to you, like a placebo and a nocebo effect, if I give both you and Whitney 2 vitamin Ds, and they both look a little different because they're 2 different brands, but they're both vitamin D. And I said, this one will turn you into a sexual animal. You will always be, wanting to have sex. And this one, this one is not good for that. But it's good to help you just, stay mellow. But they're both vitamin D.
Right.
So in the case about the selling the soul thing, I particularly don't buy into that. But that doesn't mean I would deter somebody else from feeling that or thinking that. I think that in some way we're all selling our souls in a lot of ways. If you kind of want to look at it some things that we've bought into. So a parent tells you, you've got this talent to be a painter, and the parent says, you'll never make money being an artist. You got to go to school and be a lawyer. Well, we sold our soul to the parent, especially if we believe that program. And there we sold our soul to the parent. You see what I mean?
Wow. Well,
so like if my parents were supportive of what I do, even though my dad was skeptic, but if my parents would have said, hey, Glenn, you can't be doing, what do you mean you're going to be talking to deceased people? You're intelligent enough to go be a doctor.
Wow.
I'd be like, but that's not what I want to do.
Right. Well, she says, she's on Twitter corresponding right now. She says, yes, my grandparents were heavy into Wicca, and they were it was negative. That's what she said. They were into the negative side of Wicca.
Okay, but people could be into the negative side of any practice. Paganism, Wicca, Judaism, Catholicism, Hinduism, Buddhism, so forth and so on, right? And Islam, anything. And it's all really what you're giving the power. I'm not saying that what they did was positive or negative. Is that they were going through their experience. So, if they... it's like, if they sold their souls in the way that as she's calling it, it doesn't mean that, I don't know how to look at this because I've never been posed this question before, so I'm looking at it from a different perspective, going, okay, that's why I use the analogy, like if you had this talent of being a painter and your mom or dad said to you, you'll never, like John Lennon's Aunt Mimi said, you'll never make money in music. Well, he had the last laugh. He had $250 million at his estate at the time of physical death. Mm-hmm. So, but it's not even about the money. Look at how successful he became, based on his art as a musician. So it's the thing is the selling the soul, but many times people are doing it for all kinds of things. And if they were doing Wicca in a way that was not seen as lovely, that's why I said, in one line, like you take a kid like Adolf Hitler. He could have been the nice kid. He could have been the kid that would help an old lady cross the street with her groceries. 30 years later, he's assassinating millions of people.
Yeah. She wants to know if they're in the light. And I tend to think yes, but I'm not a psychic. Go ahead.
Well, there's light. Every one of us has light in us. Even we have darkness in us, too. We have polarity within us. So when souls are non-physical, they all go back, emerge into that light. But not to say that a soul could somewhat still be in a dark state of being, then that's their choice. No one comes to them, whether it be angels or other deceased entities, and say, you must be in the light. Because the soul, even if they feel like they want to stay in that darkened state of mind, or consciousness rather, because there is no mind, it's a consciousness now with this non-physical entity. If they choose to say, you know what, people suck, and that's still their thought in the afterlife. But I don't actually agree with that word afterlife, but we'll call it the non-physical dimension. Because what's afterlife? There's still life, you see. But I know why it's used in this terminology for us here on Earth. And so in regards to that, I would say that all beings have light within them. Even the people who do the most heinous acts on earth have light within them.
Right.
And we actually, if I may add something, remember earlier in the show I was saying that people are kind of condemning Steve Harvey because of his mistake with the Miss Universe pageant thing, right? And I don't know much about it, but I saw it on Facebook. And it's no different than the people who are now condemning this musician Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots as saying, well, how can he die of an accidental drug overdose when he was a drug addict? And it's sort of like, that's what I'm saying, like people, when we're condemning other people, somebody can say, oh, I'm not evil. Well, yeah, if you're writing about on Facebook, how this person's an idiot, Steve Harvey as an example, you're condemning somebody. You're not being in the light at that moment, because if you were in the light at the moment, you wouldn't dare write about it.
Wow. Listen.
In that context.
Listen, here we are at the end of the show. It blew by, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Zoe show, it blew by.
It blew by. Listen, I want everybody who heard this show, this is Glenn's song. Play some of Glenn's music right now. Thank you.
What you playing? Oh, go love yourself.
Yeah, go love yourself. This is my guy, Glenn Klausner, right? I want you guys to go to his website, glennklausner.com. That's Glenn with 2 N's. Klausner is spelled Klausn. You spelled it wrong, didn't you? Boy.
I spelled my own name wrong?
No, you didn't spell your name wrong. My engineer spelled it wrong. Spell your last name,
Tell him I
Klausner.
said go love yourself.
Spell the last name for us, Glenn.
Klausn like Nancy, ER.
Man, Glenn, you know this is my new home over here, Dash Radio. Over 4 million listeners. Of course, we got the #1 show. I ain't too big to brag on myself. We got the #1 show up in here.
Yeah.
Glenn, you know you more than welcome, man, to tune in anytime and holla at our people, man, because they'll support you if you support them. Can we do that?
Thank you, Zoe. Whitney. I'd love to come on the show again. You know, I love you, Zoe. You're awesome. Whitney, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you, bro. And
Chris is awesome.
yeah, Chris is awesome. No, he's not. No, I'm just kidding. Chris is great. He's my guy. But listen, man, we appreciate you. I'm going to call you after the show is over, Glenn. And let me just say this. I got love for everybody who tuned in. Have a great holiday. Show love, give love, be love, and it all come back to you in the same way you send it out. If you send out love with a little piece of hate dookie on the side, the little hate dookie is coming back and stinking up your life. But we love you for tuning in to the Voice of Reason on Hot Button Radio. It's been a great year. I think we're going to be here one more time. I think Wednesday we're here. We're not going to be here Friday, but you know what? It's all love. Please stay tuned. Follow Zoe's movement. Much love. We out. Deuces.